YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back after Week 3's NFL action here with my recap and takeaways for every single game, except for the Monday night game because it still didn't play yet. We'll be talking live on Twitter during that game, but this recap's going to go a little quicker than the normal ones. A lot of sloppy football left. There's not a lot to cover. It's just teams blowing games. Teams that should be winning are not winning. They can't figure out how to close out games, and it's just a lot. It's due to a lot of sloppy football. Hopefully that ends soon. It usually kind of ends about now, but there's so much of it that it probably will continue into Week 4, so we don't really get the true identity on teams until maybe Week 5, around that range and on. So, yeah, I kind of want some normal football right now. It's still entertaining, some of these games, but I'm here to break it down. Like always, every Monday we have weekly picks, score predictions, and power rankings all week, every week, so join us. Vikings have won 2 games while I was wearing the chain from the GLD shop. I really blew it. My fault. They lost to the Eagles, didn't put the chain on. But the GLD shop has some NFL pendants made from real gold. They just got the Commanders one in. All NFL teams. Real gold, lots of jewelry options. Code GOAT for 33% off makes it a lot more affordable than it already is as well. So check it out. Link down below for that. Link down below for our Picks League. Not too late to join. If you join our Super League, get involved in our weekly picks videos. More info on that if you click those links pinned in the comments. Make sure you follow our Twitter. A lot of these takeaways are already up on there as games are going on. Super followers get bonus content on there. You guys know the drill. We got rid of the Thursday recap video, so I'm going to start recapping the Thursday game in this video just real quick. For this one, the game was a lot closer than obviously the score shows. The Browns scored late in that game on defense, but yes, my main takeaway, interesting game from Kevin Stefanski. I thought the play calling was very shaky, very sus early in that game. And then he really figured it out, and there's some really good adjustments even before halftime. Kind of started getting some things going. Nick Chubb looks like arguably the best running back in football right now. He's an absolute stud. He's him. And I thought Brissett played a pretty good game. Steelers defense, even though they kind of held the Browns a little bit early, they did not play a good game. They could not stop the run, kind of flashbacks to last year, which were the worst in football, stopping the run. They are missing TJ Watt right now, which he's a very good run defender for an edge rusher. But, that's one side of the football. It's not going to make your run defense go from the worst to even, decent, just because of one edge rusher, even though I do think he's the best defensive player in football, quite clear. It's just not how it works, so run defense still an issue. They were allowing everything, hitches, curls, slants underneath to the Browns all day. So, and the offense just can't really get things going consistently. Trubisky, he actually had some good balls here and there. I mean, one to Deontay Johnson he dropped, so they got to execute a little bit better, obviously. But yeah, the Browns found a way. I thought Brissett played well. I thought Njoku played very well. I thought Chubb was great, obviously. They clutched up when they needed to. I like the adjustments from them in that game. Texans and Bears, Sunday afternoon game. Obviously, the first one we'll talk about here. First glance, I'm like, this game went exactly how I predicted it to go. Minus the score I predicted, which was close. I predicted the Bears win by 1, 17-16, 23-20, and I said that it's going to be both teams are going to run the ball a lot, going to run the clock. They're both going to be effective running the ball, but I think the Bears are going to be more effective running the ball. I'm going to trust them more on the ground, and that's why they'll win. And, first glance, it kind of looks like what it was, and it kind of was. That's a big reason the Bears did win. Khalil Herbert had a monster game. Dameon Pierce ran well for the Texans. He had 80 yards, over 4 yards per carry. He had a good game. So the Bears had more. Herbert had a monster game. The Texans are struggling to stop the run, and that was a big difference. But kind of looking back, this morning I kind of look back on all these games, see what I missed, see to go over things a second time. And, it's got to be a frustrating one for the Texans because they definitely could have had this one. The Texans very easily could have, not easily, but very well could have ended up with a win in this game, because they had their opportunities. And you look at both these second-year quarterbacks, they both threw 2 costly interceptions, but you look at the major difference between the two. And that, the Bears had control of this game early, but Fields was, with those bad interceptions, both of them were very bad, allowing the Texans to stay in the game. Like, they're limiting Fields' amount of times he can throw. I think there's a reason for it, and when he is throwing, it's not very, very good. So he kind of allowed the Texans to stay in this game and actually have a shot, and maybe they should have won the game, after that point. But then the Texans, get the ball in the red zone. Ball gets tipped around a bit. Bears come up with a clutch interception. Bears defense was clutch, by the way. But yeah, just unfortunate for Davis Mills. And then at the end of the game, it's a tie game. The Texans got the ball. You think maybe the Texans have the advantage right now, and the ball gets tipped up, interception. So even though both second-year quarterbacks, Davis Mills definitely got to be better, but both second-year quarterbacks had some costly interceptions. The ones that didn't look as bad, nearly as bad on the quarterback, were the most costly ones. And the Texans, just that last one, I mean, they just happened the worst times in the end zone. And at the end of the game, for the Bears to be able to just go and close it out, get themselves in field goal range. But the Bears defense was very much clutch. Montgomery goes down. Herbert steps up big. The Bears are 2-1. It's crazy. They're 2-1 because they are finding ways to win. There's a lot of teams out there that have control, have good quarterback play, and they can't find ways to win. The Bears are finding ways to win with limited quarterback play, limited passing. I think it's the first time since like in the 80s that a quarterback has X amount of throws, and in Justin Fields' case, it's wild, and he's not playing well at all. And they're finding ways to win. So it's credit to the coaching staff, credit to the defense, the running game when clutching up. Will it last, though? It's kind of one of those early season things that, they're winning, but team's going to kind of figure it out, and then you're going to have to find a way to pass the ball and be successful passing the ball to continue winning games. That's a tough part about the Bears there. They find a way to win. The Texans, if it wasn't for a late turnover in the Colts game to allow overtime to happen, if it wasn't for that, tipped interception, either one of the tipped interceptions, they could have 2 wins right now. So if you're a Texans fan, it's probably very frustrating because the team could be better than what they are. The defense is playing some pretty good football, some promise there. Raiders, Titans, yeah, this is it's kind of funny, but not really, because this game kind of went how I originally predicted. If you remember the videos during the week, when I had 26-23 Titans, I said Derrick Henry was going to break out, have a good game. He was effective in the running game, in the passing game as well, catching the ball, and that would be the difference. And that kind of ended up being the score was pretty damn close. Kind of ended up being what it was, but. I woke up on Sunday and I got to go Raiders just because the Titans are so depleted. Taylor Lewan out, Bud Dupree out. Harold Landry's already out. You thought Dupree maybe would play. Got guys trying to come back from injury, and the Raiders, and then that pass rush should have a day against Tannehill. And I still thought Henry would have a pretty good game, so I mistakenly switched my pick to the Raiders there, and then the game kind of ended up going how I originally thought it get going there. So, yeah, the Titans won this game early with Derrick Henry getting going and getting themselves in position, to control this game. Keep the lead, but take the lead. But, yeah, play calling kind of goes south after it's been kind of south most of the year so far. It's only been 3 games, but especially when it reminded me of the Giants game a lot. They kind of allowed the Giants to get back in the game because they kind of really put their foot on the brake and predictable play calling, and they did the same thing in this game. Difference was the Giants found a way to execute and win the game. The Raiders, think about that. The Raiders could not. The Giants could. Raiders could not. So that kind of sums up where the Raiders are at. This is a winnable game for the Raiders, though. Going into the game, because how many guys are out for the Titans? One, but within the game, it felt like the Raiders were in the red zone all game. They just cannot execute, whether it's Waller dropping the ball or Carr making the wrong, throwing in the wrong direction or off targets or whatever it may be. Very sloppy. And then, we said the pass rusher should have really had a day. Max Crosby's been all right. He's honestly, for as good of a player he could be, he's been a little underwhelming, but he's been fine. I'm not really worried about him. But Chandler Jones has been extremely disappointing. Extremely disappointing. So you see why the Cardinals didn't really want him back. Apparently there wasn't a whole lot of teams after him too, so maybe teams thought he was on the decline. I guess last year his production mainly came from the first few games and he kind of went downhill, so questionable what's going on there. And they really can't get Devontae Adams going after the first game as well. So they're big moves, and I'm sure they could pan out and those guys will get better. I'm not really worried about Devontae Adams at all, but it's kind of tough right now. They're the only 0-3 team in football. And I said it last week too. I had something with I don't know if the play call, I don't really have a problem with the play calling. It's not perfect at all times, but something with this offensive system or I don't know. I said that kind of last week too. Carr seems different. It seems different in a way where I'm still trying to figure it out. It's almost like, it's not like he's declining. He's at that age. It's not like he's coming off an injury where he's not right, but he's not right now. But it almost seems like something, not the play calling, but something, maybe the play designs or what they want Carr to do, something with this offense where I think they want him to focus, snap the ball, you're going to focus here instead of kind of doing your thing. So maybe they're simplifying things too much, trying to simplify things too much for Derek Carr. I could be wrong on this. I'm trying to figure out the problem because he looks a lot different. But it's just my take. I'm trying to simplify things too much where it's actually making it more difficult for a solid quarterback who is not nowhere near solid right now in Derek Carr. So that could be the problem as well. Winnable game for the Raiders. The Titans really should put this game away. Good game from Derrick Henry. I guess he kind of got slowed in the second half. But yeah, the red zone defense, they clutched up red zone defense there. That was big time for them. But yeah, Chiefs, Colts. Colts get their first win. This is a big one too against the Chiefs. Where do I got to credit the Colts? Credit the Colts, clutching up last drive, scoring. Jelani Woods, my tight end, one, scoring 2 touchdowns. See how much monster he is in the red zone. Just a mismatch problem. But run defense is where I really got to credit the Colts. Run defense has been stellar every week, actually. It's been. We got to deal with Derrick Henry next week, so that'd be a good test. But it's been very, very, very good, and the Chiefs just had no run game in this game, which, we see the Chiefs are able to win without a run game sometimes. The Colts, they kind of limited Patrick Mahomes in a way as well. I mean, an all right game still, but he wasn't that elite Patrick Mahomes maybe. So the Colts defense definitely deserves some credit. But yeah, kind of going back in this game, so the Chiefs really blew this game. Look at some things that I missed, live, I guess, when I kind of go back and watch all these games again, or not watch the whole game again, but kind of study them up again before doing this recap video, review some things. And it was almost like all happened at the same time. I mean, Kelsey drops a touchdown that you just don't expect him to drop. And then they missed a chip shot field goal because their kicker's out. They missed an extra point in this game as well because of that. And then right after that, they get what does Chris Jones get? An unsportsmanlike conduct for trash talking. Is that, taunting? I guess if that's the rule, that's the rule. But whatever. We can argue all day that shouldn't be a rule, but it still happened. So it all hit them in a row, and that's kind of just what blew the game. So the Chiefs actually choked this game. I guess I don't know if I knew they had. I saw the live. I saw the Kelsey drop, which wasn't the easiest one, but he should catch it. I see the missed field goal, obviously, but then I see the Colts go and score. It's like I didn't really think the Chiefs really choked that. Maybe, but yeah, kind of going back, they shot themselves in the foot pretty big on that one. It's a game they should win, but I'm not trying to take credit away from the Colts. They clutched up when they needed to. I mean, it's been a struggle for them, and they figured out something there. And I mean, Taylor didn't go crazy on the ground. I did say that I could, for some reason, I could see the Colts win this game because I could see Taylor dominating the ground, controlling the clock. I don't know if that really happened. It didn't really. So that run defense, Colts, I think that's the biggest part right there. And I'm glad to see Jelani Woods get involved, especially in the red zone there. That's big time. Bills and Dolphins, a very strange game as I review this game. Very strange. And it's not really because of the butt punt and Ken Dorsey throwing a temper tantrum up in the booth there, up in the box. Those were weird things, but it's just a weird game because going into the game, you think if the Dolphins win, it's probably because maybe they took advantage of the Bills' defenders, big-time defenders, mainly Micah Hyde being out, and they had another incredible offensive day to win the game and outscore the Bills in a shootout. That would be a realistic prediction if you picked the Dolphins to win, which was a realistic outcome. But that didn't really happen. It just did. I feel like this went in a very unpredictable way, and my first thoughts were like, yeah, that didn't happen. The Dolphins won with defense. They won with defense in this game, somewhat low scoring, way more low scoring. But I'm sitting there thinking about it again, though, reviewing this game. It's like Josh Allen threw for 400 yards. They had offense. They moved the ball on the Dolphins defense. And the Dolphins were a little limited offensively. They had big plays. You have deep one to Waddle. They execute when they're in the red zone for sure. Offensively, so they execute when they needed to, but they were very limited on offense. It's just a weird game. It's a weird game, like how it went down. But still, you could say the Dolphins won with defense. They forced 2 fumbles. Javon Holland felt like he was everywhere. Melvin Ingram. It's such a unique defense. We talk about the way they blitz, the different looks they give. You could definitely say that, but they did give up quite a bit of yards. It's just crazy the Bills only had 19 points off the yards they got. I guess they got turned over on downs on 4th down. Josh Allen missed a throw. He should make that throw. But I want to look up the exact number, actually. But how many times he threw. It was an insane amount of times in this game. And I think, let's see, Josh, 63 is actually more than I thought it was, top of my head. That's actually more. 63 times. So he had 400 yards actually on the dot. 63 times. So just imagine throwing the ball 63 times. Imagine having receivers run routes full go 63 times. And you see like guy like Diggs was laying on the sideline. You know, the heat was killing him, and the heat was a big factor in this one. You saw it. I mean, but I'm gonna blame Ken Dorsey a bit for the Bills on this one. I don't really love the play calling. I think you called this game like you were trying to come back from down big, which wasn't the case. They actually were in a lead for a bit of this game. You shouldn't be throwing 63 times. Your receivers in the heat should not be running the route 63 times. And it's the proof's kind of there with Singletary. He did lead. I was like wondering, did he lead? He led by 2 yards. Singletary led in receiving yards, and I think that is actually. I might be the only one saying this, but I really believe it. I think it's because of the heat. I think it's because the receivers are constantly running routes. You know, you're throwing the ball 63 times. You're barely running the ball. Credit to the Dolphins stopping to run early to kind of throw things off. Singletary really couldn't get anywhere, so credit to them on that. That was huge. But you're barely running the ball. Your receivers are gassed for the amount of times you're throwing the ball, and you're winning probably at most of this point as well. That where your fresh leg running back, who's not running routes every play, probably running routes on 11, maybe more than 11, but like 15. He had 11 targets. He's going to catch the ball 9 times for 78 yards. It makes sense to me. Like that, he had the fresh legs there. It's like I think the play calling. I think they abandoned the run too early. I think they acted like they were getting killed in this game. They were trying to come back. They were fighting back. And they just threw the ball too much. You made it tough around your receivers. The heat definitely was a factor. It's not really the only reason the Dolphins win. You still got to execute. Like, I'm not making excuses for Josh Allen missed that throw. Like, you threw the ball 63 times, so it's probably difficult to continue to hit throws. But you got to hit that throw. That's the bottom line. You got to. I mean, he fumbled the ball 3 times, so he lost 1. So I guess they only had. They only have 1 fumble lost. Yeah, I thought it was 2. But, so some sloppy play. It's just a weird one. It's just weird how it went down. But the Dolphins are a very solid team. Quarterback gets concussed. He's got to bounce back and execute. I mean, they execute when they're in the red zone. Again, they stopped the run early. They made clutch plays on defense. That bomb to Waddle was a big one. So the Dolphins find a way to win at home. That's just massive. They stay undefeated. And the rest of their schedule, I mean, through the bye week, even after the bye week, looks like they're all very winnable. So it's looking really good for the Dolphins. Lions and Vikings, this is one of those games where, whoever lost this game, I was going to say, like, that team blew it. Like, they should have won the game. It was no matter who lost the game here. It definitely looked like the Lions had the game wrapped up in the end, though, and they probably should have pulled it off. But if you watch this game, you kind of look at the Vikings, they made it a lot harder than it needed to be. Like, they didn't really need it to come down to 50 seconds or whatever to score that touchdown because things just were not going their way in this game. I mean, Justin Jefferson was dropping the ball. Nobody's talking about the butt fumble because there was a butt punt or a punt, whatever, a butt punt. Dalvin Cook ran in the back of his own lineman, fumbled the ball at a crucial point of the game and dislocated his shoulder. Like, the Lions didn't do anything to cause that. No one's really talking about that just because of the butt punt. But and so that was brutal. Right before then, Irv Smith, the Vikings were putting together a great drive. Irv Smith drops the ball. It felt like they were going to go get 7 and take the lead. Instead, the Lions take the ball and instantly score. So it's a major swing. And then after that, it was the Dalvin Cook butt fumble. The Vikings missed 2 kicks during this time. Talk about Jefferson dropping the ball. It's just weird things, sloppy things happen for the Vikings, so it didn't really need to come down to the end. You kind of can see that if they didn't make these mistakes, shooting themselves in the foot. And I don't want to take credit away from the Lions. Offense was executing early. The Lions are a much better team than they have been in the past. You know, they definitely are. Offense was executing early in this game for a chunk of this game, really. It's just a lot of it was the Vikings shooting themselves in the foot and then making it a lot more difficult, creating a comeback. And the Vikings were really good on the ground this game, but they almost took the run game away from themselves. It made it a lot more difficult. So that's why the Vikings lost. I'd probably say they blew that game with all those miscues there. But the Lions end up being in control because all these things are going wrong for the Vikings. They're in complete control. And all the 4th downs they're converting, credit to them for clutching up and converting those, but all these things they're converting, everything's kind of going right for them, and they can't find a way to close out a game. So even though I say it's definitely it feels like a better Lions team than it was in the past, at the same time, it definitely does, too. It definitely is. At the same time, it's the same old Lions. Like, you cannot find a way to close this game out, and there's definitely coaching miscues, which we saw loads of games last year, which I was saying all year, that cost them, in this game, but yeah, back to the 4th downs. I mean, they were so clutch. It's the reason why they're in the driver's seat and they should win this game. And, and it's like, how many games are you going to be able to convert that many fourth downs, too. So it's just, they got to figure out a way to close this game out. And even on those fourth downs, Campbell's like, he sees like he's really undecided. It's kind of just F it. We're going to go for it in the end, which, and you saw that at the end they decided to kick a field goal instead of going for it or punting. The Lions end up at the end of the day missed 2 field goals as well. That was a deep one. So that was a questionable call by Campbell. But the biggest bad call was for him taking a timeout for the Vikings. The Vikings had a big gain to Osborne, 50 seconds left. They're at about the 30-yard line. And sure, 50 seconds, Vikings pretty talented offense. They probably still could have scored, but things go differently. They don't have any timeouts. Which again, they still have a little. It's not like they're going to run out of time, and maybe they would have eventually. And then Dan Campbell calls a timeout for the Lions, basically for the Vikings. The Vikings were able to actually draw up their best play, see what the defense is giving them, and it looked like it worked out perfectly because Osborne leaks out wide open, and that's the third best receiver, but Cousins instantly saw him there. So it's almost like they drew something up. They saw something in that defense, and Osborne was kind of talking about it. He knew where the open spot was going to be based on what they were showing him pre-snap. So the Vikings figured something out during that timeout, and so I don't understand that timeout call. So people talk about the decision to kick the field goal, and just not knowing what's happening in your own game with all those fourth downs for Campbell. But I'm actually going to hit him even harder for that timeout. So it's the coaching's got to be better for sure. I mean, they lost him some games last year as well, so I don't know. It's a likable guy over there, but there's some game management situations that are not good. Lions offense looks impressive though. They probably could have put their foot on the gas and scored more points at the end there, possibly, but just let that one slip away. The Vikings can't be as sloppy. The defense was struggling. They did have Harrison Smith out, but it still looks, there's nothing special about the defense. It's your basic zone coverage. They're trying to mix a man in there this week as well, but it's just so basic. So they got to work on that. I think that's more coaching, actually. It's just they got to put them. They got some good players. Got to put them in better position to succeed there. But so Vikings clutch up though, come back and win. They are 2-0 in their division. That's huge. The Lions just let one get away. Can't let it get away. Ravens and Patriots, 37-26. Patriots is actually a winnable game for the Patriots. I mean, Mac Jones had he had some good moments throwing against the Ravens. And he had some tough moments, running the ball, getting physical, not afraid to put his nose down, so I love that. But he had some 3 interceptions, some really bad interceptions, especially when they were on the move. I mean, Devontae Parker's having a monster game. They're able to run the ball. I mean, Stevenson and Harris both getting going. Ravens defense just doesn't feel like the normal Ravens defense. It's still a little bit. You still worry about it a little bit, the Ravens defense, despite coming out here with a win. And the defense clutched up. They got some turnovers. I mean, they had 3 interceptions. Hamilton punched out a fumble. Queen dropped a pick 6, too. That would have been a pick 6. So it could have been even more. But the defense is still giving up a lot of plays, a lot of chunk plays here to a team that's not supposed to be really that strong at getting those big explosive plays, especially in the passing game. If it wasn't for those turnovers, the Patriots could have, even though the score shows 11 difference, they could have won the game. But the Ravens, they clutch up. They make plays on defense there. Lamar Jackson was great. I mean, look at the quarterback difference. I mean, Lamar just went off really in every category. Look at the rushing ability. And then the other quarterback threw, even though Mac Jones had his moments, he threw 3 interceptions. You think this would be an ass beating, what the Patriots actually could have been in this game, if it wasn't for those turnovers. We're just killer. Now Mac Jones going to be hurt as well on top of it. Probably going to miss some time. Not good. But, Lamar, Mark Andrews had a good day. Duvernay solid. Bateman was non-existent. I guess they got Justice Hill going when they needed to. He only had 6 carries. But defense you kind of worry about against the big boys, the better teams that they're going to need to beat. So, but here they go, put up 37 points. What I'm impressed about the Ravens is they still don't have much of a run game going with the running backs. They have it with Lamar, and you would think in the past, if they didn't have that dominant top of the NFL rushing game all around, not even just Lamar, you'd think they would really struggle if they had that taken away from them. But every single week, they have not. They've been very good. So I think Lamar finding ways to push this offense further is big. So that's an impressive part about the Ravens because they haven't really had that running from the running backs. In the week 1, they didn't really have any running game going. But so that's actually the main takeaway there. That's impressive for the Ravens of finding ways. So if they can get their kind of the running backs going again, then the offense could be even scarier. Bengals and Jets. I mean, this might be one of the more normal games out of the. I mean, maybe the Jets fans disagree because they turn the ball over a lot. But this was probably one of the more normal games. I kind of went how you almost expected. The Bengals should win this game. Flacco shouldn't be flawlessly like he was last week. I mean, he had a couple picks, fumbles. Trey Hendrickson got after him. He had a monster game. So the Jets can't be as sloppy. There's just some sloppy football there that if they, take away those big sloppy moments, it's a whole different game, sure. But Burrow kind of got going this game. I mean, Chase really didn't do a whole lot. They were still able to get going. Boyd had he broke a tackle for a touchdown. You had to wrap up and tackle if you're the Jets. That was massive. Bengals can't really get mixing going. Did not get mixing going in all this game. So the Jets' run defense looking pretty solid. Like we said, they stopped the Ravens' run offense week 1. So maybe their run defense is solid. It's a lot of young players, some miscues there. Yeah, so still some sloppy play for sure from the Jets. That could have been a different game. But, Bengals kind of did what you kind of expect them to. I don't really have too many takeaways on that game here. Eagles and Commanders. The Eagles are looking really good still. Looking like maybe the best team in football. I mean, they could have scored a lot more points, it felt like, too, and they were just working the field. A lot of missed tackles and bad angles from the Commanders' defense. Still worry about that defense. The Eagles weren't crazy at the run game, I guess. They were way more effective in the pass game, but it's good to see how explosive they are. Devontae Smith had a monster game, going up and attacking the ball, too. I love that. That's kind of like the knock on him. The skinny kid, it won't be able to get physical, go up for the ball. It's just wrong. He did it at Alabama, and we're seeing that Alabama Devontae Smith out there. He had some rocket catches, some big-time contested catches. I'm trying to figure out which one was the best one. He really put a insane highlight tape together. A.J. Brown's been a monster. That touchdown he had kind of carried the defender in the end zone. Good time to add A.J. Brown. Get another big-time weapon for Jalen Hurts while he's progressing, while Devontae Smith is progressing, getting better, playing like how he's supposed to be. So it's all coming together at the perfect time. So really credit Howie Roseman and company with that one. Like the play calling, except for that pass call end around fourth down. Maybe they're trying to find something else because they were in control of this game, so won't knock it too much. That's a pretty bad play call. But other than that, the play calling, the design, playbook, all looks great for the Eagles. 9 sacks on Carson Wentz. Pretty difficult to win a game when you get sacked 9 times. Pretty difficult to lose the game when you sack a guy 9 times. I said it on Twitter. 9 sacks in 1 week. That's more than 24 teams have in 3 weeks. Well, I guess the Cowboys and the Giants didn't play yet this week, but you get the point, which it's ridiculous. A lot of it is on Wentz, and we saw that kind of last week too, holding the ball too much. He just doesn't want to get outside the pocket too. It's either, and he has the weapons too. He's just got to buy himself a little bit more time. The offensive line's not doing him any favors, but a lot of that was more on Wentz, I thought. But again, the offensive line could be played better. Offensive line was decent last year, which was on paper I thought it was going to be bad. So this year I didn't really know what to expect. This year it kind of makes a little more sense. But a lot of it is on Wentz, like I said. It just doesn't. The main thing, he used to want to get outside the pocket and make a play. And he has all these weapons that if you get outside the pocket, your weapons somebody's going to get open. He just doesn't want to do that now. He kind of wants to stand there and get sacked, hold the ball. So I don't really know what's going on with that. It's not good. So just not good all around for the Commanders. You're supposed to be going into the year. We think, it's probably the Eagles or the Cowboys division, but the Commanders, watch out for them. They're right behind. They should be in that conversation. So, going in this game home against the Eagles, you got to think you got to win this game, and it's just not even close. It's really not even close here. So, it's a tough one for the Commanders there. Eagles look like they have some control going on right now. Giants are 2-0. Cowboys are actually playing all right, so maybe I shouldn't say that, but the Eagles looking pretty damn good. Saints and Panthers really wasn't as close as the score showed, because the Panthers were in complete control all game. They played a really good defensive game. It just, big plays just took over this game. I mean, Kamara fumbles. Marquise Haynes picks it up for a touchdown, goes for a touchdown. And it's like, that it just sucked the life out of the Saints, it felt like. And the Panthers were just getting after Winston, making plays, good blitz calls. You bash the coaching of the Panthers, but I think Phil Snow's actually a good defensive coordinator. I think he's, and they got to be better stopping the run, and they were better in this game. But I don't know if that's really on the coaching. It's just they maybe need to touch up on some pieces up there up front. But I think he calls a really good defense, and they got some playmakers back there. So they really they game plan. They game plan on defense in this game. They saw something, how we're going to throw off Winston. The Saints offense line isn't looking nothing nearly like the normal Saints offense line. Panthers kind of exposed that. Some teams have been just blowing some things up, and then and you thought maybe the Saints can trickle back. Panthers defense creating some more plays, and Laviska Shenault takes one to distance. You see how dangerous he is after the catch, kind of like a Cordero Patterson there. So it really put the game away. So and then they got McCaffrey. I've been calling for it. Get McCaffrey the ball some more. Did that. He had a pretty good game. So they actually had a game plan. They actually had a game plan for once, a good one all the way around. And they executed. And they started stronger than they were on the other end of that. They kind of created that fumble, instead of being the ones of fumbling or starting slow. So that was the difference. The Saints ended up having production offensively. They just couldn't get in the end zone. They couldn't get things consistent. Got Winston a little flustered. Offensive line's not playing well. Callaway had a ridiculous one-handed touchdown grab. Olave's been productive. You should be able to find more ways to score points. So maybe it's early season stuff. Maybe they'll kind of snap out of it and they'll get going. But they're really beat up. They kind of play like it as well early in the season, so that's not really great. Then they got to go to London. Winnable game against the Vikings. I think that offense could spark something in that game, but it's just tough with it. Kind of feels like a beat-up team. You got to go there. So, Panthers much needed with the Panthers. The Panthers could be 3-0 right now. They could be, and I'm not really trying to say they're better than you think because they could be 3-0. I'm not really trying to say that. They kind of just blew those games. I don't know if they really deserved to win those games, but they could have won those games. So they are 1-2. They finally got their much-needed win, but they're pretty close to being 3-0 at the same time, so it's interesting. Not that they feel 3-0. Again, don't want to confuse anyone. Jaguars Chargers, this is one of those games where it's like the Jaguars just dominated the Chargers. I didn't know what I was going to say there. The Jaguars just dominated. It's not like there's a lot of games this week where within the game, that team kind of just blew it. The Chargers had some bad moments that kind of blew the game, but if you're watching this game, it just felt like the Jaguars just earned it, deserved it, were better in this game. I don't know who will be better at the end of the year. I think a lot of people predict the Chargers still, but within this game, that's the only thing I'm talking about. Jaguars, all of that, earned it. They were deserving. Just the better team, clearly, in this game. So this is kind of just based on how the game was going, it ended up being one of the more normal games. Pre-game, like what you're predicting, what the Chargers should do, then no, it's not as expected or normal in any way. But how the game went, it's just there was really no shenanigans going on to, that's why a lot of these games, especially this week, I think that based on what was going on within the game, the wrong teams were winning, a lot of them. So just teams can't close it out. But the Jaguars took control. Dominated this game. It's a sneaky team. I said it all offseason. They're a sneaky team. It's early, but they're a very sneaky, dangerous team. Offense. They could have won by more. They were still a little slow in the red zone early, but they're getting things going. Trevor Lawrence is playing a lot better football, real good football. Shouldn't be a surprise. He was a top-tier elite prospect. I like how they get Kirk going. They get everyone going. Marvin Jones had a nice touchdown grab. Zay Jones getting going. James Robinson. They're getting everyone involved. They're playing smart football. Defensively, this is where they're extra sneaky because they're good on defense. They're young. They're flying around the field. They're well coached on defense. They have a stout defensive line. They move guys around. You see them randomly run stunts at quarterbacks, at offensive line. They get pressure the old-fashioned way off the edge. They can show blitz, give different disguises. They're pretty sound at any coverage. They're pretty good when they're in man coverage, which is tough to do. It reminded me of when the Chargers played the Ravens and the Patriots last year. Two defense that were give different disguised looks, and for whatever reason, the Chargers offense was completely slowed and did not look right. It reminded me a lot of that. The Jaguars presented that to the LA Chargers. So watch out for those Jags. Impressive. Chargers, just sloppy moments, sloppy turnovers early, which resulted in the Jags just completely outplaying them. Even if it wasn't those turnovers, they were completely outplaying them. But Herbert didn't seem right. He has some moments where he's like, he's fine, but then there's some moments where he doesn't seem right. They definitely need Keenan Allen back out there. I don't really have much other than that. Jaguars go out there and get a good win. They're impressive for sure. They could have won. They could be 3-0. They probably should be 3-0. They really should be. The Commanders looking pretty bad right now too. So you wonder how the Jags lose that game. But they probably should be 3-0 if they execute in the red zone a little better. Rams, Cardinals. I felt like the Rams controlled this game. Yeah, they did. A lot more than the score showed. Was never really, while I was watching this game, never really worried about the Rams blowing it or anything. They had control. They could have scored a lot more points. That's why I'm like, they had production offensively. I guess Kupp wasn't getting going that much in the passing game. He did drop a big touchdown, so I guess he could have got going more. He had an end-around touchdown. Still a fine game. But I guess I'm trying to figure. I thought Stafford had a good game. They ran the ball Akers ran the ball very well. He had that bad fumble, which I guess they could have got more points there. I'm trying to figure out, like, they could have scored a lot more points in this game, it felt like. So I guess it's not really that concerning, I suppose. But, yeah, Cardinals just, I mean, they had production. I mean, Murray threw an insane amount. I mean, if you throw that many times as he did, you know, the name. Let me see the amount of times. I had to look this up for the Josh Allen one. I don't think Josh Allen threw the ball 63 times. I don't think Kyler Murray threw the ball 63 times, but I know he threw the ball, based on what I watched, a lot. 58, so actually not far off. It was closer than I thought. 58 times. You don't get a touchdown. You're just having a hard time getting in the end zone. It's like, I mean, you should try to. It's just confusing. It's just confusing. It's kind of, for a majority of this year, for majority of the quarters played, the Cardinals' offense has not been able to get the ball in the end zone. Has just looked very disappointing, very underwhelming. They happen to play the Raiders, who are maybe the worst team in football right now, and the Cardinals played well for a fourth quarter and overtime and ended up winning the game. Maybe it's just a Raiders thing. You know, the Cardinals just can't get much going here, and I can't really figure it out. Not much of a run game. I mean, Hollywood Brown had 140 yards. It's how are they not finding ways to get points up on the board offensively? Like they're playing so, like, starting so slow as well. It kind of feels in a way similar to like what's been going on in the past. Like even last year, they started off great in the year, which is not the case here. They're starting off the opposite of that, but I'll get to my point. They start off great in the year, and then what happens when they go south? Teams adjust. Teams figure out how to game plan for them, and there's no answer for the Cardinals. Their answer is to keep doing what we're doing, because it's kind of too late for any adjustments. And that's kind of what's going on within games right now. Like within drives, like the Cardinals are getting production. They're able to get the ball in the air, you know, make plays here and there, but teams adjust and figure out and give different looks, and there's just no answer for the Cardinals, and they can't get in the end zone. So that's kind of my take on that. They just, it is tough. It's tough to situation because something's working, and then all of a sudden it's not. The other teams are adjusting. You know, it's just what's the answer there? So it is pretty tough. I didn't think this game was as close as the score shows at all. I think the Rams had complete control. They could have scored a lot more points. The Cardinals have been pretty damn disappointing. They're fortunate to have a win really on the board right now. Falcons Seahawks. Yeah, the Falcons clutch up, win this game. Cordero Patterson had a monster game, absolute monster game. Was a big time problem for Seattle. I like that Mariota was trying to hit some tight window throws. He was forcing the ball to Pitts, which I kind of wanted. Was calling for. That's what he did. He's a guy that doesn't need to be wide open. I thought London was clutch. They were clutch on some third downs as well. And they got the job. Then they tried to blow it. The Falcons tried to Falcon at the end. They had a good drive going, had a game-clinching drive going, and then they fumble a read option. Just dropped it. Seahawks didn't really cause it. They just ended up falling on the ball, and the Seahawks they got down to the red zone. They actually good shot, a touchdown would have. They couldn't kick a field goal. They had to score a touchdown, would have won the game pretty much. So Falcons almost Falcon. They figured out a way to win. They could be 3-0. They could be, but at the same time, it's just so difficult. As we pick games every week, it's even in a game like this coming away to win. It's difficult to ride the Falcons. It's difficult to put trust in them because they try to Falcon. They really try to do. So it's tough, but they played a good game. They clutched up, defense clutched up when they needed to. They found a way to win. This one here, despite some things that weren't perfect. But Seattle, it's a weird one for Seattle because I'm looking at this one and I'm thinking like they were effective on the ground. Penny was definitely effective. They didn't run the ball a ton. I'm like, that's weird because the Seahawks normally don't abandon the run. At the same time, like I don't know if they really wrongfully abandoned it because the passing game was working too. Geno was slinging it. I mean, Lockett, DK, these guys were coming up big catches. They had production through the air. They had production on the ground. They had production everywhere. It's a weird one. I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, Patterson had a monster game on the ground, who probably should have got more carries, by the way. I'm like, the Falcons probably dominated the time possession. That's probably what did it. That's probably the explanation why the Seahawks had all this production when given the opportunity. They just couldn't score enough points to beat the Falcons. But no, the Seahawks won the time possession. So I don't really have an answer on why why the Seahawks couldn't pull this off. And I guess the answer would be and the Falcons just had a little bit more on offense. guy like Patterson. I guess that's the obvious answer, I guess. But the Seahawks moved the ball. I guess moved the ball maybe more than 23 points. I guess they didn't clutch up at the right moments. I guess at the end there, but honestly, they shouldn't even came down in the end. But yeah, so it's a tough one. Seahawks they got that win against the Broncos, and they're not a team that you're going to get a free win on, but they're kind of coming back down to these last two games of what we thought maybe they could be. But I mean, they played better than that in this game though. They moved the ball offensively. They had explosive plays offensively. So won the time in possession. So it's tough. Packers and Bucks. Yeah, I picked the Bucks in this one. It's one of those where I'm just like, I don't really regret, because a lot of times when you're wrong on a pick, you kind of regret, like, damn, I should have picked the other team. This is not one of those, because like my prediction was the Buccaneers. I love the pass defense. They're going to clutch up. They're going to win this game. They're going to help win this game, and that kind of stayed true. What the unpredictable part was the Bucks not scoring a touchdown to the end of the game, which is no way I would have predicted that. So that's why I'm not really hating myself for that one. But credit to the Packers defense. The Buccaneers did not score a touchdown until very late in this game. They clutched up, made plays. Had 2 forced fumbles and recoveries in midfield. I mean, Quay Walker, the rookie, had a big one at one point. I will say the Packers offense started off very good. Rodgers was rolling, making correct reads, knowing where to go with the ball. Romeo Doubs was getting going. He had a good game. They find, he could be their best receiver. He could be. I think Lazard. Slow up. I think Lazard's their best receiver, but Doubs could be that good. But and then it was about to get out of hand. Actually, it could have been a whole lot different game. But Aaron Jones fumbled. That was a tough one. Maybe changed a little momentum. The Bucs did go down and fumble right after that, though. But the Bucs defense, Todd Bowles, the adjustments he makes and his defense, how good they are. The pass defensive secondary, when it's healthy, it's really good. And they completely shut the Packers down the rest of the game. The problem was the Bucs were getting field goals, not touchdowns, and they were missing, Mike Evans, and they're missing receivers in general. Mike Evans being suspended. I mean, Mike Evans killed them with that. If Mike Evans plays this game, the Bucs win this game, especially if Alexander goes down getting hurt. So that Mike Evans hurt them big time in this one. But yeah, it's a lot of defense, and then you go down to the end. Brady puts one of those drives together, and they get the 2-point conversion, and they saw something to run the ball. What they saw was the Packers D-line, the Packers defense in general was just spread out so much. It was going to be a free touchdown for a physical guy like Fournette, especially on the goal line. The delay of game was absolutely killer, and that ended up being the difference in the game. But the Packers offense, credit the offense early. If they didn't go down there and get touchdowns instead of field goals, get 14 on the board, they would have lost. So you got to credit them early. But the defense really much the whole game here got the job done for the Packers. And the Bucs get to go play the Chiefs next. That's gonna be a fun one on Sunday night. Packers get probably a Patriots team without Mac Jones there. So Packers looking like in the clear here moving forward. The last game, 11-10. If it's the second time in NFL history that was the final score, 11. It's a weird score. This is one really, watching every snap live, but even going back and thinking about it, the 49ers should win this game. They definitely should win this game here. I mean, it was a sloppy game all the way around offensively. Good defense, good punting in this game, but just really sloppy offense. But man, I think the story of this game at the end, I think I tweeted it too, was like turnovers. 49ers turned the ball over 3 times, Broncos turned it over 0. And that's the difference. So what does that mean? The Broncos took care of the ball, the 49ers didn't. But actually, no, I think about it a little more, that not really. The Broncos were as sloppy, if not more sloppy than the 49ers with the ball. The ball just, didn't bounce the 49ers' way. It bounced the Broncos' way. And credit to the defense, the Broncos, of executing on those turnover-worthy plays a lot more than the 49ers did. They actually executed, but yeah, I mean, because look how Gordon was putting the ball on the ground, and Wilson had a tip ball that hung up in the air. And the Niners usually executing that. Russell Wilson had a lot of off-target throws too that could have been. The Broncos were very fortunate to not have any takeaways. Say that. I think the Broncos were very fortunate to win this game. I think whoever won this game was like, they were very sloppy. They won the game, but the Broncos. The 49ers outplayed them for most of this game, and they were just unfortunate to have more turnovers. You got to take care of the ball, have more turnovers than the Broncos did. So that's a tough one for the 49ers. The Broncos end up clutching up and scoring late. Right before that, Jimmy had somebody open, miscue on the missed throw. That was big. Broncos go down and score. The 49ers have a shot. It ended up being like a tipped interception, rolls up a guy's arm, goes backwards. Broncos get it. And then they fumble. Wilson fumbles, bounce to the Broncos. So the 49ers missing their They're definitely missing their Elijah Mitchell out there, and probably Ty Davis Price, who I was a big fan. He'd probably be their best running back right now, to be honest. But I'm just trusting the evaluation and how 49ers play ball. But yeah, Jimmy had a bad game. Russell Wilson had a bad game as well. I mean, he had a clutch scrambling, towards the end, but missed a lot of throws. Yeah, just kind of a brutal game. Not a lot of offense. It's one 49ers cannot let slip away. I think they should have won that game. I really think they had control most of that game. So that's a tough one for them. But yeah, Broncos find a way. Like I said, early in the year, there's going to be sloppy moments. You just get out there with the win. Defense clutched up when they needed to. That's really there all is to it on this game. So there are a lot of flags in this game. Do I really disagree with any of them? Not really. It's just they were like a lot of like the ticky-tack stuff they were going to call in this game. So it's just one of those officiating crews. But yeah, it's a much needed win for the Broncos. The Broncos are 2-1. They don't feel like a 2-1 team right now. Like I like the defense. The offense, very underwhelming. I mean, they don't feel like a 2-1 team. The Niners are 1-2. They let the Niners let one slip away here for sure, and let one slip away against the Bears in Week 1. So they are 1-2. So it's definitely interesting. Yeah, it's, again, like I said, a lot of sloppy play going on. A lot of teams losing that probably should win games. It happens normally. I try to remind people every year. It happens, and early season, it might be happening a little bit more this year though, and it's usually through 3 weeks, maybe through 4 weeks. It's definitely going to go through 4 weeks just because how much sloppiness is going on now. So just kind of want to fast forward that time where the football being played and the outcomes, the final scores mean something. Because right now they don't, wins definitely mean something, but they don't really. You can't really predict the future off some of these because teams are losing that should win some games, should be winning some games right now. So some tough football going on there. I just want the football that means something out there. That's just me, but still entertaining. But yeah, that's our recap video. Back every Monday with this. We have weekly picks or power rankings first on Tuesday, and then weekly picks Tuesday night, score predictions Wednesday. So we got you covered with the NFL content. A lot going on Twitter, too. A lot of NFL content, more for super followers. So link down below for that and other things that you may need pinned in the comments. So check it all out. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.